Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd. And you are here with us today for the November 2015 PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting, where today we are talking about filters. Mary Jo's going to take you through start to finish on building a filter, which is a very important part of how you use PracticeMaster. And then we're also talking about conflict of interest searching. That's my topic. I talked about it at the TABS Virtual User Group meeting an hour or so ago, and I'm going to talk about how to do it in PracticeMaster here right now.
All right. So I'm going to talk about filters, and filters are all over PracticeMaster. We can do calendar filters, we can do client filters, we can do contact filters, but today we're going to focus on a client filter. And we've talked about these a little bit in the past, but we've not really went start to finish and completely built one that's workable and done. And I don't know that Paul has given me control because I'm not able to click. So if you can help me out there, Paul, I will be able to click.
Here. I guess I'm going to have to do this the hard way.
Uh-oh.
What was the word of the day in the last virtual user group meeting, Mary Jo?
Discombobulated.
Discombobulated. And can you, Leanne says, are you sure it wasn't befuddled? Go ahead, Mary Jo. Ask me if I can use that in a sentence.
I know that you can.
Ask me anyway.
Okay, Paul, can you use that in a sentence?
I can. The older I get, the more befuddled and discombobulated I feel. Now, Mary Jo, it says you have keyboard and mouse.
Okay. I am not able to.
Yeah, okay. You just tell me what to do.
Oh, wait. I think I got it. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's see if we can click
on.
No,
that was me.
Okay. Well, I need to go into the client, please.
Okay.
And so let's see if it's back here. All right. So I want to build a filter, and I want to build one that's going to make sense that you'll be able to build in your system for yourself if you'd like to. First off, I want to tell you there's already a built-in filter for active and inactive, and that's probably the number one thing I get asked. I just want to see the active cases. I just want to see the inactive cases, whatever that is. So over here on the right in Quick Clicks, we have a filter already built in at the top that you can say, I only want to see the active only cases. And if that check mark is checked, which in our case it is, you can see the green check mark there on active only, that means I'm only seeing the active cases over here on the left. And the really cool thing about this filter is that I can build as many other filters as I want down here, and this can always be in conjunction with that. So if I always want to see active only and then I want to build something else, which I'm going to do later down here at the bottom, it's wonderful. I don't have to build that into my filter that I'm doing. It's already going to be there, and I can turn it on and off as I want to. So that's huge. So I'm going to go down to the filters, and let's see, Paul, I might be back. Let me see if I can move. Yeah, okay, I got it now. All right, so I'm going to slip on down here to the filters. Where are we at here? I've kind of lost my place. There we go. So filters are here. Any of the ones I've already have built are out here. And what I want to do is I'm going to build one that is going to give me one attorney's clients. And then I'm going to add another part to that filter to say I want to see only let's say my clients that were open in the last 30 days. So I can see all my new cases that I have in a filter. Now this is just one. I could build tons of them. I could build one that is just my clients. I could build one that is my clients who opened in the last 30 days. I can build one for whatever I want here. But this basic one is going to get you through the wizard on how to use it and then what parameters you want to use for yours. So it looks like we've already got a few out here for some of these attorneys that we have in here, but I'm going to build a brand new one. So I'm going to go to Manage Filters and Quick Clicks over here on the right. Click on that. And then I am in my filter section. So I can always see what I already have here. And then I've got my little toolbar up here at the top. Now I'm going to just hit the new button. And again, it looks like our little piece of paper. And this one has a plus sign. So I can build a brand new filter. And I'm going to build one for Kendra because Kendra is one of our attorneys in here. So I'm just going to put that this is Kendra's clients and just name it that. So you want to give it a name first off. If you have the rights to do this, you may be able to actually build this and show it for all other users. This is something that we limit over in our system configuration. So if you don't have rights to do this and you need to show it for all users or not, that's something that you can talk to your administrator about and see about getting rights to do that. But if this is grayed out and you can't do it, that's because you don't have rights. But if you do, if I wanted to push this out, if I were building a filter that I wanted all users to see, if I check that box, everybody's going to be able to see this. I don't have to go recreate it on each and every user's machine like we used to have to do in the old days. So now we don't have to do that. We can just click a box. Next, I've got all these little fields in here that I can fill in and get new rows of what I want my filter to show me. So we have a new row, new advanced row, delete, move up, and move down. We're not going to go into too much of all of these things, but what we are going to do is a new row. So I'm going to just keep it simple. I want a brand new row, and the first thing that I want is that Kendra is the primary timekeeper. So I'm just going to scroll down on my list because all of the fields that are available in the client file are on the screen. So I can filter any of those different pieces of information that I want. So in this case, I want the primary timekeeper to be Kendra. So I'm going to choose primary timekeeper, say OK, and then I've got this equal to, and I'm going to say if there's some different things I can pick, choose from, have a little arrow here, and if I am just typing in a word or something like that, I could type in a word. But in this case, there's a little drop down, and it's going to give me the timekeeper list. So here I am. I'm going to pick Kendra, say OK, and now I've got my test value. So primary timekeeper needs to be equal to number 5. That's all I'm going to do. I just want Kendra's clients. I just want all the clients that she is primary timekeeper on. Now, I don't know if she actually is primary timekeeper on anything, so hopefully she is. But here she is, Kendra's clients. I've got that new filter over here showing on quick clicks. If I click on it, it's going to put the check mark, and it's going to filter up here. And she does. She's the primary timekeeper on 2 of Kelly White's matters. And if I see this filter, I know that I've got a filter turned on. Sometimes I'll have clients come in and they won't be able to see all the information that they want, but there's a filter turned on. If I want to turn that filter off and go back out and see all clients, I just click on it, and it takes the check mark away. And you'll see I no longer have that filtered box up here anymore. Now let's go even further. Let's take Kendra's clients, and let's go in and add that we just want her clients in the last 30 days. So I'm going to go back to Manage Filters. I'm going to click on Kendra's clients, and I am going to edit, which is this little pen and paper, and open this back up. Well, I want to add a second row. So I want all of the clients that are equal to primary timekeeper equals 5, and I'm going to pick the date opened. So I'm going to go down here and scroll down until I get to the date open field, select it, and I'm going to, right here you've got in the next so many days. If I click on that, again, I've got a drop down. So I can say in the last 30 days, or I could say in, older than a certain date, or I want to see all the cases that were, if I wanted this year, I could say older than January 1st, 2015, and that could give me everything that was opened this year. So there's a lot of different things that we could do here. So, and there's different things that you can, combinations. If I do greater than January 1st of 2015, it would do the same thing as older than, January 1st, 15. I'm saying the same kinds of things. So there's a lot of ways that we can do that. But in this one, I'm going to say in the last 30 days. So, and then look here, I can do days, months, weeks, years, all of those things as well. So you've got more choices even as I get into the date range. But for mine, I'm going to do in the last 30 days. And it even tells me what those 30 days are. And I'm in test data, so this thinks I'm in 2014. But this is 10/18 through 11/17 in this system. And I'll save this one. So now when I come back out and I click on Kendra's clients opened in the last 30 days, it's filtered and I don't have any. Those cases that were opened in here before were opened prior to the 30-day period that I wanted. So I have none. And this might just be a temporary filter. You just want to know how many cases did I bring in the last month that I'm, the primary timekeeper on, and then you'll just turn it off and do a different filter for something else. So this is just something that you could do quickly for a fast look, or it's something that you could just have in here all the time and in the queue that you can turn on and off. And you always can come in and manage the filter. You can add new, or you can edit existing. I could take that date range off if I want to, just by highlighting the row and deleting it. So I'm going to delete that row, and now I'm back to just seeing all of the clients that have been that have timekeeper number 5 as a primary timekeeper. So that is just a quick, easy filter. You can do this on any of these fields. So if this were something that you didn't even care who the primary timekeeper was, you just want to sort or filter on some other thing, the opposing attorney equals a certain person. I want to see all the cases that Judge Smith is on, all kinds of things like that. You can come in and look at all these fields, and you can build a filter just using this little wizard. And I'm just using the new row wizard for mine today. There are some advanced rows. We're not going to talk about that one today. We were just building a very simple filter, because this in itself, with just this new row and the and or buttons over here, can get you so many different options that can help you get your data in the view that you want to see it in. So I'm going to go ahead and save that back out how it was, and I'm going to turn it over to Paul.
Very good. Thank you. One thing I want to point out is the difference between a dynamic filter and a static filter. Mary Jo made a dynamic filter. Now let's pretend it's today, 11/30/2015. She said in the last 30 days. So when she runs that today, that's going to be 11/1 through 11/30. If she runs it in a month, it's going to be 12/1 through 12/30. That's dynamic. If she had instead said greater than or equal to 11/1/15 and less than or equal to 11/30/15, then it would always show that date range no matter when she ran it. If she ran it today, it would be 11/1/15 through 11/30/15. If she ran it in a month, it would still be 11/1/15 through 11/30/15. That's the difference between dynamic and static. And the beauty of this wizard is that it's simple. It's easy for people to understand, but it still lets you build something that's dynamic, that's going to change, and always have a filter that shows you everything you opened in the last 3 months or whatever it is that you want to see. So very cool. A lot of power there. And I'll kind of hint at the fact that next month we're going to go into even greater detail into filters. And in fact, Mary Jo and I have talked already about making this kind of an ongoing subject. Just like Mary Jo had a report series where she went through virtually every report in tabs, we're probably going to go into a lot of detail in how to make filters, and it might be like the Harry Potter books. It might get a little more complex and dark the farther you go. We're starting simple, but stick with us and we'll get into some very powerful stuff. I am talking about conflicts. Now, some of you that have PracticeMaster, in fact, most of you probably, have tabs as well. And some of you that have PracticeMaster may have had tabs to begin with and not had PracticeMaster to begin with. And so you may have started out by doing your conflict searching in tabs and then ended up with PracticeMaster in front of you and still be doing conflict searching in tabs. Some of you may have started out in PracticeMaster for conflict searching. Some of you may not even know that you can do it in PracticeMaster. So the reason I'm telling you all this is that there are 2 places to do conflict of interest searching. If you have both tabs and PracticeMaster, both of those programs support it. If you have both of them, PracticeMaster is usually 99 times out of 100 the much better place to do it. The reason being is that PracticeMaster holds a certain amount of data that tabs does not hold. In PracticeMaster, you've got calendar items. You've got more contacts than you perhaps have in tabs. Perhaps you're linking all the people that come into contact with the case, to that matter. And so therefore, inherently, that would be a better place to look for conflicts, because if you know that John Doe is opposing counsel on these 4 matters, or that Bob Smith was a fact witness on this matter and now his wife has come to you for a divorce, you're going to know that in PracticeMaster. You're probably not going to know that in tabs. In tabs, you may know that you billed for that other matter, but unless that fact witness's name showed up in a fee entry, you're not going to find that conflict. Now, what do you do to do a conflict search? Well, it's right up here, usually, on your menu, and it is, I lost my keyboard, conflict of interest search. There are two things that have magnifying glasses, two icons. One of them has a couple people and a magnifying glass. That's the contact search. The other one has a person and a file. In other words, we're searching through information. That's the conflict of interest search. Click on that, and you get to a screen where you can type a word or a phrase. You can select what you're looking for. You can select what you want to do about phrase matching, what you want to do about word order, and what search options you want to put into effect. Let's start by searching for, who is it? Kelly White? Kelly White. I'm going to go ahead and search everything, and I'm just going to hit search. I'm going to preview my results, and I have found a bunch of stuff that mentions Kelly White. First off, I found a client record where Kelly White is the client. Then I found a calendar record that references Kelly White. I have found documents that have Kelly and White together in them. And you'll notice it's 3 pages long, and I also have people records that point to Kelly White. And more document management. I have a lot of stuff here for Kelly White. Now, a couple things you'll notice as we're doing this. If I go back up to the top here, when I highlight Kelly White's name, it will open up that occurrence of Kelly White. So since I'm on the client file, it takes me to the client record that references Kelly White. And if I hit escape, it takes me right back to that report. Okay. Now, I also have the ability to click on it up here, and it takes me to the same place, and I hit escape, and it takes me back. So if you can't tell from what you're seeing here whether or not what you found is the right thing, you can click on the hyperlink, and it will take you to that instance in the record, and you say, oh, yeah, okay. I found it here in this record, should have notes from Kelly White, and that's tied to Michael Larson's case and also to Kelly White, the contact. And so you can kind of drill down into your data and see where you found that if you need to do further investigation. Now, let's go back here. What do some of these things mean? This says must match all words. This would find me a lot more because I might have Bob White, and I might have Joe White, and I might have Kelly Green, and Kelly Smith, and Kelly Jones. So most often, you want to be matching all words. Word order, anywhere within a record, exact order within the same field, any order within the same field. A lot of people will choose anywhere within a record, and that means that if Kelly appears in one field and White appears in another field, then it's still going to consider it a hit. This means that it has to be exactly Kelly White. It can't be Kelly Ann White. It can't be Kelly whose last name is White in a document. It has to be Kelly White. This means they can be in any order. It could be White Kelly, it could be Kelly White, it could be Kelly Ann White, but they have to be in the same field. Okay. So a lot of people might start out broad and then draw it in as they find too many conflicts. We'll talk about that in a second. Then it says you have the option to match partial words. So this would find, let's say we're looking simply for White. This would find White or Whitefield or White House or any word that starts with WHITE. This would find Downing Whites or anything that has WHIT anywhere within the word. If you're going to match partial words, most often people will starts with, no pun intended. They will start a little bit narrow, and then if need be, bring it back out. Now, if I uncheck this, I can then also check this. The difference between matching partial words and phonetic search is if we type white and we're matching partial words, we'll find Whitefield and Whiteford and White House and whatever. If we type white and we're doing a phonetic search, we might also find WHYTE or any other phonetic spelling of the word white. You can't do both of these together because that would make it too broad. So a lot of times people will start without doing a phonetic search, and then if they don't find it, but they want to make sure they're very thorough, they will then turn off partial words and go out to a phonetic search. So you have to understand these things. Now, these boxes down here, let me take it back to partial words. These boxes down here, these simply define whether or not you're going to search all the files. So I recommend that you do. If you've got data in the system, it's going to be in one of these files. And if you're not storing anything in the email attachments, or you're not storing anything in, you're not using document management, it doesn't matter if you have it turned on. So I usually advise people to have all of these boxes checked. Now, one thing about conflict searching in PracticeMaster, sometimes people use it for things other than searching for conflicts. If I'm looking for a certain task that I created, and I can't remember what date I put it on, but now I want to change it, or I want to find it, I will sometimes search just the calendar file for a word that I know is in that task, and I'll uncheck the rest of these things. So that's an instance of when you might only want to have a certain file checked, but most often when you're doing a real, true conflict search, you want to have all these boxes checked so that you're searching all the data, okay? So you want to find what your values are for phrase match. I recommend match all words. Word order, I recommend probably the second one, any order within the same field. And I usually recommend people do a match partial words with starts with. You can do it contains, but it takes it a lot longer. If you have a big system with lots and lots of data, it might take 5 minutes to search for white with a contains, whereas it takes a matter of seconds to do it with a starts with. That's because of the way it has to search through the data. If it can do it based on starts with, it can do it based on the indexes that it maintains. Okay. Now, Leanne is telling me we have a question, but I'm not sure if the question is related to what Mary Jo was talking about. Leanne?
You're right. It is related to what Mary Jo was talking about. I didn't want
so we'll wait till I'm done then, and we'll go back to that then,
okay,
rather than interrupting this topic to go back to another topic and then come back to this topic.
Okay.
But she came in here because she knows that sometimes I forget things, and she had been in here before, and so I thought maybe I was in trouble. Now, I want to show you one more thing about this, and then we'll go back to that question that somebody had from Mary Jo. When you define, it's important to understand that when the files are defined in your system, and I'm going to get all the way out of everything so that I can go into something called file maintenance. And I'm not saying that everybody should be going in here. In fact, you may not have access to go in here. But I want you to understand what's going on. When the file structure is defined, and even if you haven't done anything to change it, it's still defined. Somebody in Lincoln, Nebraska defined it. There are fields for whether or not this should be included in a conflict search and whether it should be included in a conflict report. And if it's not due to be included in a conflict search and you type Toledo and you have 20 records that have Toledo as the city, it's not going to find them for conflict purposes. So on a field-by-field basis, you can turn on whether or not to include that field in a conflict search. And it's very unlikely that you would want city or street address or state to be included in a conflict search because you're really looking for conflicts with people. So you're looking for fields that would have people's names in them, either because they are the person's name or because they're notes that might contain the person's name. So therefore, city and state and zip code and address 1, 2, and 3, those are probably fields where you don't care that include in conflict search is turned off. But if you were wanting to do conflict searches that would include somebody's Social Security number, and perhaps you were storing that on the contact screen, and this weren't turned on for that field, it wouldn't work. So I'm not saying that you as a regular user should come into file maintenance and play around with the file definitions and how the conflict search is turned on or turned off, but I'm saying that you should be aware of that if you're getting results that are different than what you would expect to get based on the data that you know is in there, because this may be the reason for that. And so if you're finding this to be true, you should talk to somebody that is able to come in here and have them take a look and see if that's truly the case, and then you can decide whether or not you want to turn that on for that field. Another thing to know is that whether or not that field is included in the conflict report, not in whether it's searched for, but whether it's included in the report. Let's say that if we found a conflict from the client file, we wouldn't have wanted to search for Toledo, but we would have wanted to know what city each conflict that it did find was in. Then we can turn on include in conflict report. And so if we turned it on for city, that means when we found a conflict in the client file, it would include the city that that client was in on the report. So it would say Kelly White, Toledo, Ohio, as opposed to the Kelly White from Farmington Hills, Michigan, or the Kelly White from Indianapolis, Indiana. So understand that these two fields, these two checkboxes, whether or not each of these fields are included in a search, and also whether or not those fields are included in the report. Those are very important fields to understand their ramifications. And even if you're not someone who's capable of going in here and changing this structure, if you're responsible for doing conflict of interest searching, it's important to understand that how those fields are set up has a great big effect on how your conflict search is going to turn out. Now, I'm going to open this up so that Leanne can ask her question for the person who wanted to ask a question of what Mary Jo was talking about.
Okay, well, it's the question was not specifically about filters, which Victor says is quite nice, but he wants to know about grouping. For example, he wants to know how many new clients were added each week for the past year. Is there a simple way to do that?
A simple way? No. That gets way into having a filter that then is used in conjunction with a quick click and the quick view, and the quick view would then be subdivided at the bottom by perhaps year. So it's actually a very complex thing, and I'm not even sure it can be done because the grouping has to be done on an indexable field. So that's not a filter thing. Filters are for looking at information on the screen in groups very quickly. That might be, and I understand how it would be helpful to look at this information grouped that way on the screen. That definitely is something we could do by reporting, but it may be very difficult to do by filtering. So Victor, if you send that same question to paul.purdue, spelled like the school, not the chicken, Purdue, at attorneycomputersystems.com, I can answer it and go into a little more detail. A report is probably the better place for that. There are neat ways to group things. I'm going to go back into the client, and I'm only telling you this because I want to introduce the concept. We're not going to get into it today, but we will in the future get into how you can build a filter that filters by attorney, or a quick view is actually what this is, that filters by attorney but gives you then little tabs down at the bottom. Now the difference is this is an indexable field. I can build an index on this. Again, I don't want to get too deep, but that's why I'm able to do this, and that's why I don't think it's going to work for what Victor's asking about when it comes to doing it by year. However, yes, there are ways to do groupings like this, and these are called smart tabs. But yes, it has to be done on something that's indexable, and I don't think that the year that the case was opened, unless we're doing something fancy in the background to maintain that
He wasn't even asking about year, Paul. He was asking about week. So he's even going even further and saying that he wants to know all of the cases that were open week by week, for any given time period or whatever, which would be difficult to do, I think.
Would be difficult.
I think it's still same answer, but yeah.
It could maybe be done with a report. I mean, once you get down to week, that might be hard to do.
You could build a separate filter for each one of those, but that would be 52 filters that you're going to be building.
Well, 52 filters forever and ever.
Well, he's just saying in the last year, every week for the last year. So, that would be a lot of filters to build each week, or you can go into each you can build it once and then just keep going in and changing it, using that edit feature to say, I want to know the ones for this date range and this date range and this date range, and just go in and modify it quickly. That would be a fast way that you could go in, but it's not going to just group it all in one filter.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen. But
however, very possible that it could be done with a report.
Correct.
And a lot of really kind of intricate user fields.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any more questions, Leanne?
No more questions.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's it for this month's topics. Now let me very quickly talk to you about version 18. It is due to be released, we think, next week. We're very excited. First, let me just tell you real quickly that next month we're going to talk about filters again. This time we're going to go into the calendar file, and Mary Jo and I are going to kind of double team this one topic for the whole session. And we're going to get into doing maybe 3 or 4 different filters in the calendar file to get a little bit more strength in this concept of doing filters and how they're done and what the basis is behind them. We might get into these quick views and the smart tabs. We might not. It depends on what we decide next month when we go over this and decide how we're going to tackle this. But that's what the topic will be next month, filters in more depth, and this time it's going to be in the calendar file. Version 18 is coming out. If you want to know what's in it, kind of a quick view, you can go to tabs3.com/pre-release. And this is where you would sign up for the pre-release, but it's too late to sign up for pre-release. It's about to come out and be available without being on pre-release. But it does give you a quick rundown of the major features of version 18. Now, if you want the exact what's new list, it's called, just email me, paul.purdue, again, like the school, not the chicken. That means it's P-U-R-D-U-E, paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com. And but simply ask me to send you the what's new list for version 18, and I'll turn that right around and get that right back out to you. If you want version 18, just shoot me an email. Say, hey, we'd like version 18. We'd like to get it when it comes out. We'll make sure that you're on the list of people that are in the first wave of release, and that you will have it as soon as it's available. While we're on the topic of websites and how to spell attorney computer systems, let's go to attorneycomputersystems.com, where you will find all of our videos, including the 3 virtual user group meetings that we have, the TABS, PracticeMaster, and WorldDocs virtual user group meetings, along with our Coffee Pot webinars that I do each month, Mary Jo's eBite video series, and our Paul and Mary Jo show. So a lot of content here, and if you simply click on one of these, it will show you what the next month's topic is. I clicked on tabs. How silly of me. We're in the PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting, so let's go back and click on PracticeMaster. Here's what our topic is for next month. Here's how you sign up. As you scroll down, this is the one that we're attending right now. It will be out in several days. And as you scroll down even further, recorded copies of every one we've ever recorded, and we've been doing this for a long time. So you can either click and directly go to a certain topic, a certain type of video title, or you can search, for instance, for year-end and find a list of all the things that we've ever covered dealing with year-end and be able to go directly to those. So be sure to take advantage of all this video content. We sure have fun recording it. Now you can have fun viewing it. That's it for today. Everybody have a good rest of the month, and we will see you just a few days before Christmas. Thanks much, everybody. Bye-bye.